At a private event in Dallas we can't show you because cameras are not allowed. Jeb Bush, the man who many already consider to be the front runner in the Republican 2016 presidential nomination, is relying on both his greatest asset and his biggest liability to raise some money.
Last night, Jeb and I had some crabs with like members of the 1972 Miami Dolphins, Dan Marino and his really dynamic wife, TV stars, Andy Garcia, movie star. We had a fantastic experience.
Jeb Bush, on leg number one of a two-day family fundraising swing, is appearing tonight with his brother, the 43rd president, and tomorrow with his father, the 41st president of the United States. Tonight marks the first time Jeb has appeared with George W. to raise money so far. According to the Dallas Morning News, the invitation asks for donations or for attendees to raise up to $100,000 per couple. Fundraiser comes just 2 days after Ted Cruz officially entered the race, explicitly positioned himself as the anti-establishment grassroots candidate, the man who could stop the party bigwigs from once again foisting another, quote, moderate candidate on a skeptical GOP base. But even as Ted Cruz enters the race and Scott Walker and Rand Paul's names get tossed around, it's been pretty remarkable to watch how Jeb Bush has emerged as a front runner, particularly among the political media elite, the consultant class, and Beltway observers. It almost seems like we're watching the beginning of exactly what we watched play out in the Republican primary during the last two cycles. The Republican donor class congregates, anoints a nominee, say Mitt Romney, while the base watches their candidates of choice ultimately drop out one by one. So the big question is whether Jeb Bush will go the way of Mitt Romney in 2012, the donor choice, loathed by the base, or Hillary Clinton in 2008, the presumptive nominee, defeated by an insurgent candidate who is loved by the base. Joining me now, McKay Coppins, senior political writer for BuzzFeed. So here's my feeling, and tell me if you feel this way too from your reporting. I've been talking to people at news networks, people who are consultants, people who are inside politicos, people in Hillary world. It is amazing to me how robust the Jeb Bush consensus is, that it's Jeb.
Yeah, no, I mean...
Right? Am I right?
No, absolutely. And it's actually amazing how fast it happened.
Yes! Remember, 6 months ago it was like, I don't know, he probably won't run.
But even in December 16th is when he announced, he posted on Facebook, I'm actively exploring. Within 12 days, he was at the top of two different 2016 polls, establishment figures lining up to get behind him. He obviously kneecapped Mitt Romney, kept him out of the race, and now he's the consensus frontrunner.
Yeah, when people in those circles talk about a possible future Republican administration, they say, like, a Jeb administration.
Yeah, no, of course, yeah. Well, here's the problem. So for people like Ted Cruz, right? Cruz, the argument Team Ted makes right now is that he's the Barack Obama of the Republican side in 2016, right? The problem with that is that while the Democrats often have situations like that where you have kind of an insurgent movement candidate who surges to the front and overtakes an establishment favorite, that doesn't happen on the right hardly ever, actually. It's not just the last two cycles. You have to basically go back to 1964 with Barry Goldwater, where he beat Nelson Rockefeller. You haven't seen since then a movement candidate beat the establishment favorite.
And so the question then becomes, like, it's almost like there's these two things happening. There's the $100,000 fundraisers or the $1 million. Jeb Bush had to tell people like $1 million. This huge donor network of the Republican establishment, which is inextricably linked to the Bushes, right? The last two Republican presidents, right? They're all actually like deciding who's going to be the nominee. And then there's this bread and circuses for you rubes on the base who are going to, like, be excited about Ted Cruz. It's like, yeah, whatever. Like, that's what it feels like.
And us in the news media who cover all those people because it's fun.
I'm not saying you rubes in the base speaking myself. I respect the grassroots people. I'm saying the people behind the closed doors who are talking about Jeb Bush and fait accompli, they're looking out at the Iowa caucus goer and they're like, you think you have some control of this process, but you have no control of this process.
Well, although I will say, though, I mean, look, we've been talking, there have been predictions for years and years and decades even about the moment the movement will take over the Republican Party again. And 2010, certainly after the Tea Party insurgence, everyone thought it was going to happen, right? But then if you fast forward to 2014, the Republicans made big gains again in the midterms with mostly establishment candidates. They had adopted some Tea Party platforms, but it was mostly the establishment. I mean, it is possible. Look, I think the things to watch for with Jeb Bush, Bush are, if he screws up in a debate, really shows his like dislike or distaste or disdain for certain elements of the base, which is not like outside the realm of possibility. Right. He could show that. If that comes through, I think if he really loses in Iowa and somebody serious comes out of Iowa, then you could see trouble for Jeb Bush. But it seems unlikely at this stage.
McKay, Coppins, thanks for being here.
Thank you.
What happens